Om Shanti. Normally, I'm resident in Gyan Sarovar, and at the moment, I'm a visitor, so it feels a bit strange. But I was determined to come up the mountain to meet you all, because I hadn't come up since arriving for Dadi's celebrations. And then it was Ahmedabad for a few days, and tomorrow it's a place that some of you pass on the train, Ajmer. And Baba mentions it in the Murli, and it's the place where they have the temple of Brahma, one of the few places where that exists. But I'm not going to see the temple. I'm going for another purpose. It's the opening of a retreat place, a place that's focusing on values, education, that's being inaugurated. So, what time is it? I'm curious to know how many of you heard any of the speeches at the celebrations for Dadi, whether personally or on the webcast. Okay, a handful. But those of you who were there know for sure, and those of you who didn't get a chance to see anything, I'm sure you must have seen news on the rosary or somehow. But it was truly as if all the things that Baba has predicted will happen are happening right now. Ministers will say to you, we want you to help us create health campaigns. Can you imagine it? It's not yet happened abroad, but it's certainly happening in Bharat. So on the platform of the Brahma Kumaris, a minister saying, we want partnership with the Brahma Kumaris to eradicate things like smoking and drinking. Why? Because what we've seen is that it's mostly lifestyle factors that have caused the biggest epidemics in Bharat. Heart attacks, diabetes, all of these things. Lifestyle, lifestyle, lifestyle. So the day that Baba had predicted has happened. Another prediction from Baba, that the sages and saints and swamis who actually were against Baba and the Brahma Kumaris at the start of the yajna, they will be singing your praise. And again, not just one sadhu, but a whole line of them, including somebody who calls himself, well, he's been given the title, Shankaracharya Jagat Guru, the world guru, 1008. So even he said more or less the same thing. So what does that tell you about time? When all the major things that Baba has predicted about service are actually now visible in front of us. Baba often says that people will offer you their wedding halls to come and do service. Well, not just in Bharat, it's been happening in Bharat for a long time. But would you believe it? It happened in London for Dadi's visit. A place that normally costs for weddings multi-thousands, and believe me, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's a 5-figure sum that they charge. And he gave it to us free. Why? Because we were doing it for Dadi. So, things like this. So in terms of the field of service and the impact of Baba's work, it's really the moments of revelation and glorification of Baba. In terms of the other thing Mary mentioned, what's happening in the heart of the yajna? Well, I think it's actually quite visible. 100 years, Dadi, and how much longer? Well, every day is bonus. That's the reality. And how much longer? I can't predict, you can't predict. Only God knows and Brahma knows. Daddy herself doesn't know. Doctors don't know. At least 2 doctors who I know said, it's impossible for Daddy to survive this thing, this thing, this thing. And so they're stunned. One day she's in Abu celebrating. The next day she's gone. Where's she gone? She's flown off to another country. So doctors are stunned. It's a medical miracle. And of course, we say that it's God's miracle that Daddy is still here. Daddy Gulzar, again, it's impossible to predict how the meeting with Baba is going to be. Is it going to be short? Is it going to be long? Is it going to happen? I think everybody is more or less prepared for any eventuality now, because we know that the chariot is extremely fragile and Baba is really taking the chariot to its absolute limits and beyond, I would say beyond human limits, to continue with service in the way that she is serving us all. So, the head of the organization, the next one, Baba's chariot, and the next one, whom we call the young Daddy, is over 90 years old. Our terminology is interesting, isn't it? The youth Daddy. And this year, I haven't seen her so closely, but last year she went through a lot of upheaval with her health too. The senior brothers, all of them touching 80 or beyond. And so these are the young ones who were supposed to be helping the elderly daddies. So I think we're preparing for Satyug, where age 80 is very young. And then age 150 is departure time, but 100 you're still active. And so I think the Dadis are proving something to us about Satyug coming. So that's beautiful in a way. But in terms of Kali Yuga and the human situation, every moment is a new scene and drama, and we just have to be flexible and see how the scene goes and be ready to adjust and adapt with it. The third thing that I want to mention, that again Mary spoke of, the state of the world. Financially, what do you think the situation is? Rosy? Not so rosy. America, Russia, Europe, Africa, Asia, they were calling the tiger, the roaring tiger. But what happened to Japan? What happened to China? What's going to happen to India? At the moment, India seems rosy, but how much longer? So, the thing that we know about the financial collapse is that it'll happen, no question about it. But what will be the impact on people? Spain, Greece, who could have imagined that these would be countries that would go bankrupt? Definitely I could not have predicted that. Greece, how are they surviving? I was just on a conference call earlier today, and people who are supposed to be getting pensions are not getting pensions. Somebody who is middle class and well off, now they've got 55 euros left, and they don't have a job because they're retired, but they're not getting their pension. So her trust in God, her trust in Baba, she's been Baba's child for many years, is what's keeping her going. These are real life situations, and the contrast between the 1% of the rich and the poor of the world, well, Oxfam published figures that they have information and access to just before I left London, about a week ago now, and it's very sad. the 1% have as much wealth as 62% of the world's poor. Now, huge numbers at the bottom of the pyramid and a handful at the peak of the pyramid. What's the state of the world? The migrant story in Europe, 1 million refugees. 1 million, believe it. How do you feed them? How do you care for them? How do you look after them? What do you do with the racist prejudice that comes up inevitably? And some of it is justified, some of it isn't. So it's a crazy world story. But the silent snake that's actually creeping up, and people are mostly still in denial, is the whole subject of climate change. In 2009, the person who won the Nobel Prize and headed up the IPCC, the climate change investigations, he stated that we have till 2014 to bring about change and reverse the climate story. Well, he's now out of favor, so he's not saying anything. But Prince Charles actually has again just recently made the statement that we have till 2017. Now, how far away is 2017? And it's Prince Charles who's saying this. Scientists have been telling us for a long time. We've no idea how long it's going to take for the impact of the heat to reach the depths of the ocean and how the oceans will behave as a result of the heating. What we do know is the impact of climate change on the glaciers. Iceland, it's visible. It's not just scientific fact, it's a visible fact. The glaciers are receding. There was a person who was there again at the celebrations from Kashmir, a former minister in charge of renewable energies. He said in his lecture that he'd first come across the Brahma Kumaris in 1977, while Dadiji was very much around. And he said how he saw the impact that they were having on people, and in Delhi, there was quite a movement against the Brahma Kumaris. And he was so happy that all of that has changed, and now people are accepting Brahma Kumaris. And he heard ministers, governors, and sadhus and saints speak about the benefit that the Brahma Kumaris were giving society. He said he was amazed to see how things had turned around, and he was so happy for that. I was with him for a session the next morning, and it lasted longer than an hour and a half, I think. And he heard 75% of the time, 25% of the time I was listening. But what he was sharing was fascinating from his experience. And he said how, as a child, his parents would send him up on the roof of their home to remove the snow, because the snow was too heavy for the roof to hold, and the roof would have collapsed. And now there's scarcely any snow in Kashmir. And when he flies over the glaciers back home, what he sees is that there's no ice left. And it must be there on the top of the peaks, but not across the way that the plane flies. And we spoke about how the snow and the ice every spring feed the rivers that supply Pakistan, India, Bangladesh, and some of China. And Nepal also probably, Bhutan also probably. And the estimation was that when the snow stops, when the ice stops, and there's no more fresh water coming into the rivers, 300 million people will be affected just within this area. Now, are these just statistics? Or does it tell a story about the times in which we live and the predictions that Baba has made? He was so concerned about both the corruption in the world and the impurity in the world and climate change, very, very concerned. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? And so I had to tell him about Baba's visions. Normally, in my first encounter with somebody, I wouldn't start the subject of Baba's visions because they're quite dramatic. But I felt I had to tell him to allay his fears, to let him know that it's okay. Things are going to be working out. There's a plan behind all the things that are going on. And how much he registered, I honestly don't know. But certainly I was able to tell him about the end times and the journey home and the beginning. So the world is telling us something very, very powerful. Now, our effort, all these things maybe you knew already, but our effort, well, those things you also know already from the Avyakt Murlis, especially over the last little while, from the Sakar Murlis, you also know. But let me see if I can summarize a few things that I feel are very, very important. First thing, there was a whole series of Murlis for about 10 days. I think it was in early January. And it was again and again and again about a very basic subject, the subject of soul consciousness. Did you notice that? I'm sure you did. But every day, Baba would tell us about Om Shanti, or Baba would use the expression detachment from body consciousness, soul consciousness. Baba was emphasizing the first lesson. There's a very lovely Hindi word that I want to introduce, and that is Ekant Priya, love for solitude. And I don't know how people in Bhakti interpret it, and whether they think it means going to the top of the mountains and leaving the world behind. Maybe that is their interpretation. But certainly what it means in Raj Yoga is where I personally develop the love for being with myself, so that in silence I get to know who I am. And I believe that the reason why sanskars are not changing as quickly as we would like them to change, and maybe there are some here who feel that yes, everything is fine, I'm moving a touch faster than the clock is moving. You don't have to raise your hands, but maybe there are some who have been truly working on themselves in that way to bring that change that's needed. But generally speaking, for most of us, we would feel that time is moving faster than the speed of our own personal efforts. And so the reminder from Baba, from Sakar Murlis, from Avyakt Murlis, the signal of time, I need to accept responsibility for who I am at this moment of time. How far have I come? And where is it that I want to go? Whilst I still point the finger out there and say this one, this thing, that thing, change is not going to happen. Just today there was a conversation with somebody, and the conversation was about how we still look outside instead of the first step of the spiritual journey, which is to look inside. Love for solitude, love for silence, love for myself can only happen when I go on this inner journey. And so to be able to look inside and see how far away am I from my own perfect form. Over the last few weeks, there was a beautiful Murli, an Avyakt revision course Murli, in which Baba very categorically told us, if you can't see your own perfect form in front of you, how are others going to have a vision of your perfect form? You're not seeing it yourself yet. Why? Because you're not holding it in front of you. Hold it in front of you and you'll move towards it. And as you move towards it and you're holding that image and you're coming close to it, that is what others are going to see, and that is when they will see your perfect form. But so often we are still in the business of making excuses. And just like Lokik people, ask them to come and take Gyan, and the first excuse they give you, no time. And for Brahmins, no time. And Dadi's answer to me when I'd say to her, no time, because I've given her that answer myself, she'd say, it's nothing to do with time. It's a question of how interested you are. And I share her answer with all of you. Not my churning or my answer, but this is the answer that Dadi would give me every time. So I never talk about no time for effort for myself anymore, because it's a fact. 4 to 8 in the morning, is there anything that you need to do? Sleep? Well, that's not the time for sleeping. Okay, some have to even prepare food and offer it to Baba for themselves or the center for the rest of the day. But do you need to talk while you're cooking? Do you need to think while you're cooking? It's more or less an automatic process in which it can be very simple, it can be very elaborate, if that's what you want. But thankfully, for most of us abroad, it's pretty basic and simple. We don't get into elaborate recipes, except when it becomes a service of many others. That's different. But if you're fending for yourself, or you're living in a small group, or even in a big group, really, that can be the time when, yes, your hands are doing the work, but your mind is going on the inner journey. And so that time is precious time, is sacred time, is time for the self. And if that foundation is laid very, very accurately, with nobody else is there to monitor it, it's just you and Baba. And so if that time is used well, the rest of the day is going to follow also. So inner solitude, love for solitude, that I think is a big, big key. What's happened so often is that we get distracted by two things. Service, and we forget that service happens through my being. Who's had proof of this? That it's not what you say, it's who you are that does service. Only 4, 5 people out of this gathering? I don't believe it. Okay, now I'm beginning to see more hands go up. Really, if you haven't seen it, experiment and you'll see it. You don't even have to say anything. People will comment. What is it that keeps you so peaceful? What is it that keeps you so cheerful? Whether it's the family, whether it's at work, Lokik family, they'll comment on it. Work, they'll comment on it. The Brahmin family will comment on it. People on the train, on the bus will comment on it. Really, people at the airport, hospitals, wherever you go, they'll comment on it. Try it and see. And so, service, how come it's occupying my time? There should be time for myself. Baba spoke about being the ruler of the self, again, within this few weeks. The Raj Yogi, the one who is the master of the three servers within the court, Baba spoke about that. And so the master of the mind, can I not tell my mind, service can wait? Now I have something more important to do. Is the mind still so disobedient that I haven't yet developed the power to be able to apply a brake and put a full stop? Baba's given me the tools, I have the understanding, and to a certain extent I have the evidence, the proof, the experience. So up to me now to do something about it. So service is a big distraction. It's the way to create huge fortune, no doubt. But if it's interfering in my time for self-transformation and self-exploration to see where am I truly at, then it's become a distraction. The second thing that distracts us, people. Do you agree? Okay. People, my likes, my dislikes, I waver from here to there. Their behavior, their habits, their activity. And a thing that I don't always realize, or I know it, but I'm not reminding myself of it. Every time I'm thinking about somebody's behavior, usually it's because I don't like it. But it can also happen if I like it. But whatever it is, just by my very thinking about their behavior, I'm creating more karma with them. They've done something, I've reacted in my thoughts, and guess what? The karmic connection continues to get stronger and stronger. Action, reaction, action, reaction. If it comes through into words, of course that's more karma. If it comes into body language, I turn my eyes away seeing somebody, I turn my face away, I turn my body away, they're coming here and I go there. Of course they notice it. Anyway, even vibrations reach, but such behavior definitely reaches. And so, more karma, more karma, more karma. And if I speak about it and I'm spoiling the atmosphere, I'm polluting the minds of others, how much more karma have I accumulated? So, what's my destination? Never mind what that individual is doing. Let God be responsible for their sanskars and their behavior. I want nothing to do with it. But I'll only settle my karma if I'm going inside. If I allow it to pull me outside, then it's trouble. Baba spoke about the conquest of the senses, again in one of the recent Murlis. if my eyes are a distraction, if my ears are a distraction, do you know where I am on the ladder? Do you know? The first rung of the ladder. I'm aiming for karmatit and perfection. And after years and years, or maybe after months and months, I think they'll be both here, some months and months, some years and years. Just the first step on the rung of the ladder. If my stage of soul consciousness hasn't taken me to the point of going beyond the pull of the senses, where am I? And so people distracting me, I'm seeing their behavior, I'm thinking about their habits. That's where I am. That's what Baba told us. I don't want to give you a shock, but if you studied that same Murli, it would have told you that's what's going on. Do I want to be responsible for myself? Yes. Why? Because I want to create my highest destiny. And that's what I love about Gyan. Baba's given us all the tools for us to have an elevated life here and now, and also to reach the highest destination. If I put obstacles in my way, that's me doing that. Nobody else can put an obstacle in my way. Why? Because with soul consciousness, I can take a jump above and beyond whatever it is they're doing. Otherwise, I'm creating a little stone, a big boulder, a big mountain. And the more I think about it, the bigger the obstacle grows. And it becomes insurmountable. But Baba's given me wings to fly. And so let me use all the tools that Baba's given. Let me take flight with soul consciousness and go beyond the pull of the senses and the pull of the body. So, I hope I'm not scaring you, but important to see where I am. But my love for solitude and that inner journey and beginning to refocus. When I came to Baba, that was my focus. And then along the way, distractions came. So let me get back to my original focus. Service will happen automatically. People are not an obstruction for me, lokik or alokik, if I fly beyond. So the second thing, and again, it's not anything new that you don't know, but especially during the period we're now going through, absolutely, absolutely essential. What is the quality of my connection with Baba? Is it that I have one thought and I can connect? Or is it that I have to really struggle, then I connect? Or is it that I try and I'm not really experiencing what I'd like to in yoga? The stage Baba wants me to have is not even of one thought and connect. Baba wants me to have a connection all the time, so that every thought is a thought of Baba's presence and Baba's attainments. But okay, at least let me be able to connect with one thought. Why I say that it's absolutely critical at this moment of time is because we are seeing more and more challenges come in world situations. If I move from one country to another country, is it going to be easier? Don't think so. If I move from one city to another city, no. There'll be different color challenges, but there'll be challenges nonetheless. Baba said, I should be able to connect with Baba and have such a clean and clear link with Baba that if Baba gives me a signal, I'm able to catch it. What happens if Baba's trying to reach me and there's interference in my buddhi, and my buddhi is looking here and there for some support, which can't be relied on? I don't know if so-and-so is going to be around to help me. I don't know if my mobile phone is going to be working at that time. And if somebody else is dependent on me, I don't know whether I can help them in their moment of need. If I've come to the point where my connection is with Baba and I take Baba's help, and I know how to take Baba's help and catch Baba's signals, that's what I'll teach others also, that they also should connect. Yes, I used to give support, I used to give help, but there comes a moment when I have to say, no more, you're on your own. Just as I'm on my own, you're on your own. I cannot be a crutch for anyone. Otherwise, I'll find myself in trouble because they'll pull me and distract me. And what I want is to be able to have a direct connection that's clear and clean. Clean first and then clear. If it's not clean, there's mixed influences working on me, or mixed desires. Influence of others is one thing. I listen to them more than I listen to the voice of Srimad. Do you think that happens a lot? Unfortunately, I think it does. We still get tremendously influenced by human voices. And the problem here is that my ego tells me that my voice, the voice of my mind, is the right one. I don't have to listen to others who are further ahead on the path. Others who are further ahead on the path will never say, listen to me. But what they will do is share their experience and move you maybe a step closer to Baba. Sensitive point, isn't it? Again, it's fresh in my mind because trying to deal with hundreds of emails that I didn't deal with over the last week. And it was something that came up in Sakar Murli, and it comes up in Sakar Murlis from time to time. Baba says, tell me everything, listen to me alone. Sakar Baba is there, clear, no problem. Sakar Baba becomes avyakt. Now you can see how it's not so clear anymore. People ask Avyakt Bab Dada, Bharatvasis and double foreigners. Baba, what should we do about this? What should we do about this? In the days that we had the luxury of being able to do that, Baba would say, talk to those who are following Srimad, and they'll give you the Srimad that you need. Baba didn't say, go to this person, go to that person, go to the other person. But Baba's guideline was very, very clear. Sometimes Baba's answer would be, go to the dadis. Sometimes it was a very explicit answer, not just the dadis, but in the sense, go to those who themselves are following Srimad, and they'll be able to tell you what is Srimad. The dadis never claim to be giving Srimad. Never. If there's a human being who's saying to you, I can give you Srimad, wrong, don't believe it. But certainly, those who are further ahead than you on the path have something of their experience to share. And so you can see that we're now in a very fragile area. And when I'm saying influence and the intellect becomes a bit mixed, my ego comes in the way, I know best. Somebody wrote to me now, after 5 years of following Manmat and causing myself a lot of damage, I now understand what Srimad is and what it is I have to do. You've been telling me, but I didn't want to do it. Now I'm ready to do it. Okay, so at least 5 years down the line, but at this moment of time, we don't have another 5 years. The situations are moving too rapidly. The acceleration of drama is amazing. Really, things are not the same as they were 6 months ago. The things in terms of the world situation 6 months ago, a year ago, everything is different. So much is different. So either the influence of my own old sanskars or the influence of human beings, that makes the line unclean, the buddhi polluted. The clear guiding light of Srimad, clean and clear, the intellect in a clear line of communication with Baba, then I know what Baba wants me to do. There are situations that face us today in which people don't know what to do. Other people don't know what to do. You don't know what to do. Baba knows, and Baba's giving me a signal. Let me follow that. And so my yoga with God and absolutely moving everything else out of the way is so, so important. The third thing that we need to do, especially at this moment, explore the quality of relationships, in particular within the Brahman family. So the self, God, and then relationships. I'll share with you a question that we'd asked Adi Prakash Mani many, many years ago. It would have been maybe even in the 80s. Group of teachers in a small history hall with Dadiji, very informal. It would have been a picnic, a fruit party or something. So it was interactive, and Daddy is saying, okay, anyone who has a question, ask. And so somebody says, Daddy, what's the effort you're making? Daddy's answer was very interesting. She said, I check to see at my moment of departure, will I be able to receive good wishes and blessings from everyone? So that was an effort in the 80s. She left in 2007. But yes, truly, she fulfilled that aim of hers, to receive nothing but blessings and good wishes from everyone. Now, I stand here today and I look around, and I'm not talking about this auditorium, and I ask myself the question, can I say the same for myself? That when I leave, whenever that may be, I don't know, you don't know, but at the moment when I leave, can I say that I leave with everyone's blessings and good wishes? And of course it implies many things behind that statement. Not a question of how many people have I given Gyan to, how many people did I give the course to, how many people did I give happiness to? And you don't have to give Gyan and give the course to give happiness to people. The experience downstairs, again, not surprising, but they were listening to a lot of good things from each other on the platform, on the stage. But when they were meeting Dadi, both the Dadis usually would meet the sort of very top level people, high profile people who are here together. What they would comment on was not speeches. They would comment on the quality of service that Madhuban provided them with. Whether it was the cooking arrangements, the serving arrangements, the transport arrangements, the people in the hall. Do you know people in the hall worked till 2:30 a.m. every day that the event was on? It was a Jaipur team that was in charge of the stage. Never mind the rest of the hall, but the stage. And most nights, the cultural program would start only after dinner was over. Programs were finishing at 9:15, 9:30. Cultural program starts 10:30. Of course, it's going to go on till 11:30, 11:45, every night. And the team that was responsible, program's over, you do the cleaning, you do the resetting, everything. So, yeah, 2:30 every morning. But next morning, 7 o'clock, when people would arrive in the hall, again it was fresh and clean and fragrant, no residue from the day before. That's one example. I mean, cooking, cleaning, transport, accommodation, just think about it. How many things does this body require? The soul requires just God's love, but the body requires everything. And it was everybody working together. Again, the comment coming back, we didn't see anybody giving orders. How was it all happening? The power of love wasn't happening for a salary. It was all happening by volunteers, just simply out of their power of love. And so, how did it all happen? So service being given, so fortune being created, but always, always, just with that one thought, these souls have come to Baba's home, let them carry away something of Baba's experience. That was one thought everybody had. So in my own little world, whatever it is I'm doing, is it actually giving happiness to others? I can do the work and then explode because I'm tired. Or never mind explosion, just give a bit of a rough answer, or the tone of my voice changes. Because whether it's working for 6,000 people or whether it's working for 6 people, the body is the body and gets exhausted. So understandable. But if my tone of voice is going to cause sorrow to another but because of its edge, have I won the blessings of others? And so whether it's new people who I'm serving, whether it's Brahmins who I live and interact with, are they going to be able to give me blessings from their heart? And if I haven't accumulated blessings at this moment in the Kalpa, what will be my future destiny? And so 1,000 things that we have to pay attention to on the path of spiritual effort, but seeing how close we are to the final moments, not a doomsday prediction, but really all the signals are telling us that there's not a huge amount of time left. Do I love solitude? Do I love myself? Am I spending time with myself, taking responsibility for myself? Second, is my line with Baba clean and clear? Have I moved all the other influences out of the way? And third, is the quality of my relationship such that it earns me blessings? That will be my fortune, but it will also be my certificate in front of God. I won't be able to say, Baba, I'm fine, I pass with honor, I've done really well. Baba will say, well, okay, good that you have such confidence, but let me ask everybody else. What will they say? Will they just smile and not be able to say anything? Because they won't say, Baba, no, what she's saying isn't true. No, it's not going to be like that. But they'll just be silent. But what does silence mean in that situation? So are they going to be able to give me and Baba a big smile and say, yes, Baba, definitely. So, a few things to keep in mind. Let's fly to Baba. Om Shanti.